What's happening, people? Welcome to Music Monday. Music Monday it is, and man, today we are on a fantastical JC song. Probably one of the defining songs of our whole catalog and career. And it may take a minute to get through this one, but what we got in the skillet today is the epic of all classic JC jams called Lucky Day. All right, first thing I gotta tell you how this thing get going. Lucky Day, this music, first, it's long as you guys know, I think it's 18 minutes long, is was a sound check jam song. We were experimenting around when I had the Skidjo, first made early part of career, of putting banjo rolls on top of funk grooves. So at sound check, I just have Gene and Sanders, all right, Gene just play me, the funkiest groove you can play. Sanders, can thump it and slap. Sanders came up with the riff, that boom, 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 that funk part for the intro to the song, and we would play this at sound check, and then the band would just start jumping in on top of it. And my whole thing was I was trying to find like Cindy and some of these other songs was trying to figure out how to slow down a banjo roll and put it on top of a funk groove. So that's what we were fooling around with. So it was a sound check song that we'd just sit there and jam on, and then we started putting these pieces to it. And then, once I finally sat around and wrote the lyrics to it a year later, I would just start reciting them in parts of the song at sound check. We did this for months, and then one night we just took it to the stage and just started playing it every night. And what's interesting about this song in the jam band scene is this song was totally improvisational. Even when we took it to the stage, we didn't write it, we didn't really rehearse it. It was just a jam. We played it, and we left it open ended every night we played it. So when it hit the set, it wasn't like A to Z. That's the song. We're done. We kept it totally open ended and just kept adding to it. We let it go wherever it wanted to go. We would follow it. Solo sections changed every night. They were never the same length, never played them the same way. And we did this for years and years. It was the one song. We had some of them we jammed on, Willow, Amorous, Sandy, some of them. We had a couple songs like that where we would stretch out, but none of them like this where it was just totally wide open and you could go anywhere you wanted. The whole Dreams thing in the middle of this was was an improvisational section one night that was just so cool. We decided to record it like that when we finally got around to recording it. So we've been playing this song for years before we finally got it on the third album. When you're in a band that plays 250 or 60, 70 nights a year like we did, when you hit a song like this in the set list, it was really more fun for us than anyone because you're not rehashing the song, you're not playing it, you're inventing it right on the spot as you're doing it. That's the fun thing about improvisationally playing music, is just to follow your nose as a band and see where it goes. You really have to listen to each other, and you have to not be afraid to step out there. Some nights, some of the most incredible stuff we ever did was in sections like this. There also could be train wrecks. So usually the drummer would throw us the rope and get us out of it somehow when we started stretching out on all these tangents. I've heard JB and Panic talk about them doing this. Grateful Dead did it. Allman Brothers did it. I mean, it's not a new concept, but it was one of the few ones we had that was total improv that led to kind of a orchestrated, mapped out song by the time we recorded it. And we just kept layering all these sections on top of it. After 2 or 3 years of doing that, you had this 18-minute opus. All right, so that's musically how it happened. Probably our greatest jam improv song that ever turned into something really cool. Some of them do, some of them don't. Lyrically, I got to tell you where this came from. I went to high school up at Woodbury in Virginia, and one year, I don't know if my senior year or junior year, we were studying English poetry, and we got into all these 17th century poets. So there was this one particular song called, or not song, poem called, what was it? To the Virgins to Make Much of Time by Robert Herrick, I think was his name. Probably wrote this in the 1650s, somewhere in there. That's how old it was. And there was this line in there, and which one we broke down about, gather your rosebuds while you may, for time she is flying. That same flower that smiles today, tomorrow might be dying. All right, so basically what that is saying this whole song conceptually is about that theme right there. When you're young, don't waste time. You're only going to have your youth one part in your life, and then it's too late to get back, and you're going to miss a lot of stuff. So this is mostly in relation to romance and matrimony, is what I was thinking. So you take that theme from that poem, which was exactly where I got it, and it's even quoted in this song. That chorus is, "Got to erase buzz while you may. Um, for time she is a flying." So carpe diem kind of thing. Don't wait around. Seize the day, because once it's gone, you're not going to get it back. Now take that theme and then combine it with a relationship theme, fictional, which were, I guess I must have been listening to Freddie Fender's Before the Next Teardrop Falls, because it's kind of the same theme about young couple. Uh, he's up there, they think they're going to be together. Then she dumps him and marries somebody else, and he's of course heartbroken. But at the end says, "Look, you know, if this doesn't work out, I'll still be around." So the lucky day part is really a reference to her marriage day, and it wasn't to him. There's been plenty of songs written with that theme, especially in the country thing. Rascal Flatts had one, and I think Restless Heart had one. There's been plenty of themes like that where he got dumped and she went on and married somebody else, and I hope you're happy, that kind of thing. So Lucky Day is in reference to her wedding day, not his. All right, so that's kind of, if you tie all this stuff together, that's kind of where it came from. I got to give the props to Robert Herrick for that chorus verse in this, because that's really where the whole theme started. We'll have another one here in a bit. It's got another 17th century poet line in it. I guess that had a big impact on me in high school because it's in a lot of our music. All right. Now, back, I don't remember writing that all at one time. I would just get a piece of it. We'd play it at sound check. I would sing it. We'd get another piece of it. We'd play it at sound check. I would sing it. And I want to get back to that part about the Allman Brothers' Dreams. We were being really conscious of working on our dynamics and our jams, taking them down and building it back up into these crescendos. And one night we had it really broken down into where the band was just kind of just grooving on this low vibration. And here again, just walked up to the mic and started singing the words, lightly, to Dreams by the Allman Brothers. And it just, and then felt it with that slide in there. It just kind of, one of those things that you do, that you stumble on these moments of just pure, kinetic energy. I don't even know where it comes from, man. We used to call it the door in the band. Every night we'd play, we would get to the door. Some nights we would get through it, and things like that happen. And some nights the door would get slammed right in your face, and it didn't happen. What we were trying to do is get our level of performance every night we got to the door. We might not get through it, but we got there every night. You don't want to be down here in the middle. You want to stay up there with your shows and your performance. So, that's what we were working on. We were always tinkering with our sound and trying to be more conscious of listening to each other, not playing on top of each other, creating space for one another, and being dynamic, bringing it up and down so you can kind of move a couple hour show through a vibes. You've seen shows wax and wane like that, where the intensity picks up and drops down. And, that's all we were doing. Certainly not a new concept, but when you're just making it up on the spot, you got to listen, and it's really fun to do. It's fun for us. All right, so that's what we got in Skillet today, a killer tune, probably the grand opus of all Coyote songs, Lucky Day. And I do want to say, when we tracked this at Johnny Sandlin's studio in Decatur, I remember I laid in they had that groove going first and had the Get You. And I'd already played this on another song or two, but when I remember Johnny Sandlin looking up over his console when we hit this, and he stopped it and he said, "Man, there's that sound again like y'all had with Cindy." He called it hip-hop. He said, "Yeah, it's like a funk groove with country picking, country rock, bluegrassy funk on top of it." So Johnny coined the term hip-hop, which we thought was funny. Another cool thing about this, I got to tell you, is I'm going to do a whole video on this because a lot of people don't know the shifts we've had in recording technology. But on the first few albums, we used 2-inch tape, that big thick stuff on those reel players you used to see. And I think you only got 14 minutes per tape. I could be wrong on that. It was either 12, 14, or 16, something like that. I don't think it was 16 because Willow didn't fit on one of them. We had to do a splice. So we went from 2-inch tape. This song is 18 minutes long. That wasn't going to fit. So Johnny had moved to what they called a D88 tape, which you could record, gosh, I don't know, 45 minutes on one of those things without, having to put a new reel of tape on there. which really made it a lot easier to track an 18-minute long song, because this would have been a nightmare. You'd had to use two reels, splice the tape together, and when, man, if Johnny cut that wrong or we didn't do that right, you had to start completely over. So it was kind of nerve-wracking to do it. So you've seen, I do want to get back to this, but you've seen it go to tape, to D88s, to ADAT tape with longer limits, to strictly digital now, where it's all on digital workstations and you don't even fool with tape anymore. So if we've been through all these, I do want to get back to it because I think it's fascinating for people to take a look at. Over 35 years, we've been on every format. And that's not even talking about pressing them from vinyl records, CDs, to to digital downloads, and now to almost completely to streaming. It's crazy. So anyway, that's what we got in a skillet today. The granddaddy of all badass Jupiter Coyote tunes, called Lucky Day. And as Paul Harvey would say, now you know the rest of the story. And you certainly do.